I think it's important to not be so afraid of conflict that you lose yourself trying to keep relationships in your life or trying to keep situations going and flowing. I think it's important to understand that no connection is worth losing the connection with yourself. No connection is worth losing your peace of mind or your inner peace. So I think it's important to understand to not be so afraid to speak up for yourself that you start to crumble inside of you and break down inside of you instead of speaking up, because I think it's important to understand that peace on the outside of you and having chaos within you is not real peace. It's an illusion of peace. And I think it's important to understand that, because when it comes to a person disrespecting you, or when it comes to, people around you causing chaos or making you feel very uncomfortable, I think it's important to understand how to speak up for yourself as well. And I think it's important to understand that you don't have to yell or force somebody to understand you in order to stand up for yourself. I think it's important to understand to have a journal and to find a way to express yourself without having to blow up. And I also think that, when it comes to conflict or comes to having those uncomfortable conversations with people, that it's important to first have that conversation with yourself and first understand how you feel in order to convey that message to the next person that made you feel uncomfortable, or the next person that you felt spited or disrespected by. Because if you just go off of a whim and start yelling and start trying to tell that person how you feel, at the end of the day, when you walk away from that situation, you won't feel heard anyway, and you will just feel just as angry or just as mad or just as upset as you did when you were just feeling it inside. So I think it's important to understand how to walk away and feel through your emotions and connect with whatever you need to say, and then decide whether or not you need to say it or not. Because a lot of the times when people come at us, we just want to jump off a whim and just start telling them how we feel. But I think it's important to understand that that is not going to bring you peace, just going off of a whim and, arguing or whatever the case may be. And I think it's important to understand also that if you do walk away and you just write it down or, connect to those emotions yourself, you might find on the other end that it's not even worth it to go to that person and talk about it. So I think it's important, and you might find on the other end that you already connected with the peace with it. You already connected with peace with the situation, and you don't really need closure or to say anything to that person in order to get the peace that you are looking for. So I think it's important to understand that when it comes to trying to keep the peace or the flow or whatever the case may be, understanding not to be so afraid of conflict that you are conflicted within yourself and trying to keep the peace on the outside of yourself. But I think it's important, in order to have healthy connections or to have a healthy connection with yourself, you have to understand how to stand up for yourself and be there for yourself and be that shoulder that you need to cry on, or be that person that is the nurturer of your own emotions. So I think it's important to understand, if you do walk away and if you do start to journal or connect with your emotions and you still feel like you need to say something, then to understand what you need to say and then say that to that person, and not hold it in to try to keep the peace or to try to keep the connections in your life, because that connection is going to crumble anyways if you just keep holding things in and pushing things down. Because at some point that emotion is going to come up and it's going to explode in your face and in that other person's face, and you're going to lose that connection anyways. So I think it's important to understand that when it comes to trying to keep the peace or whatever the case may be, understand to have peace within yourself, and understand in order to do that, you have to learn how to be there for yourself and nurture your emotions and understand when to speak up and when to let things go.